All right, we are here. It is time for, okay, Mark, I'm going to throw it out there. You may disagree with me, you may not, but this might be one of the most important episodes we ever do on JFK, quite simply because of what we are covering.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, history. We've got Robert here to explain the films, the other assassination films, which we've never done before. I don't know if anybody's ever done it before, but we have Robert Groden, that is, who is an OG, one of the original investigators of the JFK assassination. We seem to have hit it off and become friends, and he's become a friend of the channel. So there seems to be, like Vince Palomaro, like Jim DiEugenio, like a number of the top guys, they seem to gravitate towards our show for whatever crazy reason. And Robert is, what we're going to do is go over some of the different films. There might be a dozen of them, if I remember correctly, that were shot and are very rarely discussed. And because everybody talks about the Zapruder film, but there's about 12 other films. And Robert and I will discuss those dozen other films, and we're going to try to show them simultaneously during the discussion. The Zapruder film, which we discussed last time, we're just going to get into some of the politics and the chain of custody and some of the current storylines regarding the Zapruder film. We went into it in depth in the last episode. We really want to focus on these dozen other films. So if you came here for the Zapruder film this time, I recommend you watch episode 1 with Bob Groden, and you could get more into the detail of the Zapruder film there. We also, in that, countered the narrative that people are pushing. He did a full breakdown of the frames and how it could not be actually edited, all that detail, etc. Now, we're not going to be showing the full-blown Zapruder film, unfortunately, because YouTube will immediately demonetize this and might even make this an adults-only video because of, sadly, it's violent, and there is a part of it that is shocking, and YouTube does not play. I have posted the Zapruder film in the past and immediately had the videos taken down. And we could put it in locals, and you could find it on your own. I mean, we just can't do it at the front end of this thing because of obvious reasons. But we've got 12 other films covering the same event, which is the focus of the episode. So I just want to be perfectly clear that somebody who just arrives from another planet and doesn't know that we did the first episode with Bob. The second one, I wanted to get into these other films, but we will talk about this Zapruder film verbally when we bring in Robert in a couple of seconds.
All right, now, before we get deep into the show, we need to talk about our locals, and I just wanted to tell everybody early, we have a thing called locals. Those who are not familiar with locals, it's a members only, it's kind of like a private Facebook group, if you will, where people can support us, and you can become a member of said locals for free. Or if you want to be a paying supporter of locals, it's on sale right now for $50 a year. It's going to be on sale through the end of this month. And that is to commemorate the 61st anniversary of the JFK assassination, as well as Black Friday, which is literally this coming Friday. So instead of $70 a year, it's $50 a year, again, through the end of the month. And on that, you get other material we put up that is for supporters only, like hard to find PDFs of books that are out of print and rare, things like that. And most importantly, a 5-part audio drama that we put together from Mark's script he wrote out with Oliver Stone executive producing. It's a 5-part miniseries on Oswald, and you get the audio drama, which we put together utilizing AI to generate the actual voices of Oswald, actual voice of Mark.
And Foley, and sound effects and Foley, Eric.
Sound effects and Foley. Some of it is standard Foley. Some Later episodes are AI generated fully. There's a lot of
weird.
work
Okay.
and development that's gone in over the year
Wow.
that it took to put all this together. It literally has taken over a year to do all 5 parts and get it out there on Locals. So
You
I
get
hope
that
you
as
guys consider it.
as part of the membership.
Correct. That as an annual member, you'll have access to that.
And that membership
everything.
is on sale for how much now?
$50 for the year.
For the whole year, for the year.
Right.
Normally it's what? 70 or
dollars for the year.
okay.
Markdown. It's about a 40% drop in price right there.
Okay.
It's for the again for this time period, and it's at unstructured.locals.com. I repeat, unstructured.locals.com.
The links are down below.
Yeah, there's links in the description for Locals for this episode to keep following it there, so you can join in and not miss anything when we cut over. We always do an after party and more after that. So
okay,
I don't want to.
It sounds fair.
I think it's a great deal, and I don't want to hold up.
It's shocking to listen to for me because I've only read it and wrote it. You know what I mean? Like I've never heard it out loud other than in my own head. So it's really entertaining for me personally. And you get a PDF of each script. So there's 5 scripts. That's about 120 pages of script times 5 that you could follow along at home. It's great for the holidays. Great gift for people who are knowledgeable or even not knowledgeable. I mean, give it to that lone nut uncle who is the cantankerous one at Thanksgiving. It might be a good gift for him to follow along and see what really happened, because there's so many things in the 10 hours. It's like I packed it all in there. Everything is in that 10 hours that related to Oswald in particular. So the name of the miniseries is Oswald, and it is every living or breathing fact I could come up with about the guy's life.
And to be fair, I understood it was intended to be 10 hours. It's actually probably closer to 11 and a half hours.
Yeah.
All told, because each one ran a little longer than 2.
Yeah. I mean, from a movie point of view, we expected it to be 10 hours, but then you don't know because you didn't shoot it and you didn't edit it down. And that's before notes from a studio or whatever. Oliver and I tried to sell it for over a year. Shockingly to no avail, but it was a cause celeb in this town that particular year anyway, of me and Oliver going around trying to sell it.
All right. Well, I don't want to hold Bob up too long. So, Mark, tell us about Mr. Groden here, who's a
Mr. Groden is an important figure because it's me and him are linked to Oliver Stone. Bob was a consultant on JFK. He worked with Oliver on that film. He was also involved in the Clay Shore trial. He was also the one who released the Zapruder film on Geraldo Rivera's show, I believe, which was on ABC, called Geraldo Tonight. I think Bob might have been the camera operator on during the Clay Shore trial, but he could tell you that for himself. But we do have Oliver in common, and for better or for worse, that's a blessing, a mitzvah. But yeah, so we've kind of hit it off, and we feel comfortable discussing these items that we're going to discuss politically and where we are historically regarding the Z film. So without any further ado, we'll bring in Robert.
All right. And Bob, how are you doing today?
Me.
There he is. Robert, back from Dallas, or you not back from Dallas, you live in Dallas, but back from the Lancer weekend?
That's correct. We live in a little place called Midlothian, which is about 30 miles south of Dallas. And we drove up there every day to be part of it. And it was quite successful. It was great. You guys were missing. We missed you being there, but it really was great to be able to do it. The people there that were really interested in the case had lots and lots of good questions.
Okay.
And so we're back home now.
Did you present any? Were you presenting just in the audience? Oh, okay. So what did you guys present?
Well, Janet was talking about problems with the witnesses to the Tippit killing,
Ah,
and the fact that we have accepted a certain amount of things as factual, and she's starting to question some of the credibility and the possibility that what we have accepted for years might be questionable.
Janet being Robert's wife.
My wife,
Just
yes.
so people at home might not know.
Pretty lady's right over there.
Was Matt there as well? Do it?
Yes.
One of the top experts on Tippit, as I recall.
Yes. And it was very good. What I was talking about was, ironically, the Zapruder film, the authenticity of it,
Right.
and correcting a lot of the phony things that are being said about it. And the problem that I've got is that these are people that should know better.
Right.
They really should know better. And the fact that they just challenge it with garbage,
it is shocking. And you and I have discussed this before. People have pointed to the veracity of the people doing this, saying that their reputation is so solid that it must be true if they're questioning the chain of custody or alteration of the Zapruder film. I know there's somebody from the Assassination Record Review Board. I believe you're shaking your head, so we have someone in common who we might be discussing. But as I've said before on this show in the last episode with you, any alteration or theory of alteration or alteration of the chain of custody regarding the Zapruder film only serves one purpose, and that is to diminish its authenticity, diminish its power as a evidentiary visual time record of the assassination. And that can only serve one father, and that's the deep state, Robert. That can, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely right. The Zapruder film is beyond any question the single most important piece of evidence that we've got. And the people who challenge it still use it themselves to make their own points.
Right.
It's ridiculous. The certain things that they're talking about. They're talking about that the Zapruder film does not show the president's car turning onto Elm Street from Houston Street. That's right, it doesn't. But the reason why it doesn't is not because it's been cut out, but because Zapruder didn't film it. This is Zapruder type cameras. This is what he was using.
Is that the Bell and Howell or
Bell and Howell? And
crank job?
what happens is the way this thing works. It works on a spring load. You wind it up. Let's see, get that there. Yeah. You load it. You wind it like this, and it tightens up the spring. And then when you want to film, when you want to take film, you press the button. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Now there's a time limit too, correct? That there's only so many seconds you're going to get.
If you fully wind it, and most people don't have the strength to do it. Mm-hmm. If you do that, you get a total of 59 seconds. That's
wow.
it.
Wow.
Okay, so logically speaking, if you have a limited amount of time, you don't want to film anything extraneous. You need to save it for the important part, which would be the president coming into the scene, I'm guessing.
Absolutely, for two reasons. Number one is the spring load, because you only have so much time because of that. The other thing, you only have so much film too. Now that's it. Now, very quickly, do you have the A and B thing that we had, side A, side B?
Sure. Hang on. I will.
The Zapruder film uses a system. There we are.
There it is.
What you've got on 8mm film is what's on the right. That's 8 millimeters wide on the film itself after it is slit. When you load it into the camera, it's 16 millimeters wide. The camera photographs one side, and then you flip it over and do the other side. Then it is sent to the laboratory. The laboratory processes it, develops it, slits it in half. The two halves are then spliced together, and you end up with the film. One of the major problems that the other side has, which they ignore completely, is that when the film was brought to NPIC, which is the National Photographic Interpretation people, they had to go out and buy an 8mm projector to run it on because they didn't have it. The stuff they always used was 16 and 35mm.
Let's just interject something about MPI. That's a government intelligence photographic laboratory, right, Robert?
That's correct.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The point of the matter is, and this, I can't point this out strongly enough, the man who got the film was a fellow by the name of Dino Brugioni. And Bruno had a problem. The film that was brought to him was 8mm, as was developed in Dallas. Problem was the film was already slit. There you go.
There's Dino.
Okay. When Brugioni got it, he didn't have an 8mm projector. He had to send a coworker out to actually buy an 8mm projector. The problem is that the film that was brought to them, which they claim was the original, is not.
Right.
The original film, the actual camera original, was not slit until the following week in Chicago. It was still 16mm wide, and you couldn't play it on an 8mm projector. It just wouldn't fit in it. There we are. The Zapruder film, the actual assassination sequence, is there on the left. On the right, it's upside down because that was the home movie stuff that was shot first. Now, what's really important about this, and this was pure luck, there was a film company that was going to do a documentary on the assassination, and they wanted to use the film. Well, we couldn't tell Life magazine that I already had the film, so we started to negotiate for it. And they wanted $10,000 for the first one-time use. And it was a lot of money, but we had agreed to pay it. So they raised it to $25,000. When we agreed to that, which we didn't have anyway, but we agreed to it, they raised it to $100,000. They were just never going to let us do it.
Right.
And the documentary never got made. The point of the matter is, though, that the original film was sent to Life magazine in Chicago. What they got there was apparently the original unslit film. They made a copy negative, double rank, the way that was, both sides together, which they could not have done if the film had already been slit. When I was up there, I actually found what you just showed there now a second ago, which is double rank black and white negative. This is what they did. This is what they made for the original first issue after the Kennedy assassination. It was a memorial edition, a special edition, and they did the frames of the Zapruder film in black and white. Why? It's faster. They could do it. They didn't have to worry about color correction later on. It was normal. That's what they did.
It's also cheaper to print as a magazine guy.
Right, and this is the way it was. This is how they published it.
Yeah.
Nobody even knew the film was in color. In Dealey Plaza, I get questions all the time about, was it colorized? No, it wasn't colorized. It was an actual Kodachrome color print. Anyway, what the last thing that we showed before, when we had to show the double rank, that was actually what I found at Life magazine. They never mentioned it. It's never been mentioned. It was not part of their inventory or whatever, but there it was in the safe. So what we've got is the fact that Here you go. This right here, it's slit, but the one before it was the double rank 8, which is actually what I found of the Life magazine. That proves that they didn't have the original film in NPIC.
Well, just add some. I just want to add some fuel to the fire of NPIC, because Dino was the PR spokesperson for NPIC, not the chief photographic expert. And in addition, Dino could not recall, nor does he remember the actual names of the FBI agents who he claimed delivered the film. To me, this is a smoking gun. And the reason he can't remember the names of the FBI agents is because the entire thing would be exposed as being fraudulent if you actually had the names of the FBI agents. If two FBI agents brought me something as precious as this, I think I would remember who brought that to me. So I just wanted to add that to my own personal observation to the situation.
Excellent point. Excellent point. The other crazy thing with all of this is 2 days later, it happened all over again. An unnamed agent brought a film saying he just got back from Kodak in Rochester, where he just had the film processed. It had been processed 3 days earlier in Dallas and by Eastman Kodak. And the leader on the film that they had there said, processed by Eastman Kodak, and the letter D, which means it was done in Dallas. This guy says, no, I did it in Rochester, because there was an R on the leader. So you've got two separate films. The people who were working on it for the second event couldn't remember whether it was 8mm or 16mm, whether it was double rank or what. They didn't know. And Brucioni and the other people who were being questioned by one of the people who claimed that the film was faked, hides the fact that these people on video state that they don't remember.
Yeah.
They think this. They weren't sure. One guy actually said he didn't know whether it was double rank 8 or whether it was 16mm original film.
Keep in mind, tell the people what year this is. This is not 1965. This is 2018 or something, right, Bob?
When what? When they're saying this?
No, yeah. When the video of Dino and what year? I mean, this is not something about back in the day. This is all of a sudden a couple of years ago.
Well, this covers quite a period of time, because there were notes that were made by Brucioni and one other guy. What?
Homer McMahon.
Oh, Homer McMahon. There was another one who was working on the second event. Both of those guys made notes, and they were all put into a single file. And Brucioni said, well, I did these, but I didn't do the others. And Homer McMahon did others that he recognized, but there was still a lot left over that neither one of them recognized at all. Homer McMahon, as I recall, Janet would know this because she was just dealing with this, said that he found from original viewing of the film that he found, was it 11 shots on her?
Well, the point,
8 shots from 3 directions.
8 shots from 3 directions.
Right. Well, the point we're trying to make a point here, and that is about the chain of custody of the film.
Right.
That it was not altered from where you trace it all the way back to your connection to the film, as far as you know. And when did you first get your hands on it physically? The copy, Robert, the clean copy that you, because you show in this DVD, you show the muddied version from the Shaw trial. Right. I mean, there's a muddied version that you were showing then, and then there's the enhanced version that you showed.
I got my original first generation copy, which we made from the camera original, around 1969.
Right. Okay. So 6 years after the event.
Right. And I didn't release it until 1975, which was 12 years after the event. Actually,
on Geraldo's show with Dick Gregory on ABC.
Right. By the way, for history, Goodnight America was not the first show I showed it on. I showed it in California on a show called Both Sides Now with Mort Saul.
Oh, right.
And
Hugh Downs.
Yeah, and Hugh Downs.
Hugh Downs, later of 2020, also ABC, right, Robert? Was it Mort Saul on ABC local here?
That's this particular show that we were on was on Channel 13. I'm not sure who owned it.
Yeah.
But it was only shown in California. It was a Chris Kraft station.
Okay.
And it was actually a few weeks before Goodnight America.
Well, Goodnight America was national, and that was ABC, and that was 1975. That was you, Dick Gregory, Geraldo, and a live audience.
Right. That was the first live show.
Nationally.
Dick Gregory, there's one point I want to point out.
Go ahead.
Geraldo first reached me and asked me if I would appear on the show. I was testifying at that time to the Rockefeller Commission with Dick Gregory and Steve Jaffe. We were all there, and for a couple of days we were there just testifying on and on and on about this.
Just for the audience, the Rockefeller Commission is a pre-commission before the House Assassinations Committee hearing commission. It was a couple of years before.
That's right. But they were testifying about, or they were taking evidence relating to the CIA's attempts to do assassinations around the world.
Yeah.
And we got the idea, Dick Gregory came up with the idea that I bring the film to the Rockefeller Commission and project it for them so that they could see it too. The Zapruder film has been unbelievably important. Right after I showed it to on Goodnight America, I was invited to the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., and I presented not only the Zapruder film, but also a slide presentation I had put together, which I had for quite a while, but had not shown publicly. And it was so impressive. Congressman Thomas Downing of Virginia introduced legislation 2 days later to reopen the case.
Right.
And that's what led to the House Assassinations Committee. The
Yeah.
case never would have been reopened if it wasn't for the Zapruder film.
Absolutely true. Now, the two frames that were cut out by Life, that's typically shown, or the case is made, that's the alteration that people are talking about. But Life kind of confessed to flip-flopping the two frames in the magazine itself, I presume, Robert, right?
Well, I get that all the time.
Okay.
But the actual thing is this: the flipping of the two frames, 313, 314,
yeah,
with each other to make it look as if the president's thrown forward instead of backwards, was not in Life magazine. It was in volume 18 of the Warren Commission evidentiary volume.
Touche, right.
That's where they reversed it.
Right.
On the original film, there are two splices there. The second splice, Josiah Thompson advertised in his book, 6 Seconds in Dallas.
Right.
It became very famous, and everybody knew about that.
Also, the spread, I think, in Look magazine, Robert, was it Look that he was in? I'm talking about the Josiah Thompson.
Oh, yeah. I think it was the Saturday Evening Post.
Saturday Evening Post. I'm sorry. Go on. Yeah.
Anyway, as I was working with the original film, I was actually hand winding down on a set of rewinds like this. And I felt two splices, not one. I found that there was an earlier splice that actually occurred on the film earlier than the film frames published in volume 18 of the Warren Commission. They started after the first splice so that nobody would know that it was there. Life explained to me when I was up there, they were very open. They said they had put the film in the hands of a junior lab technician to make 4x5 color transparencies for the first edition after the memorial edition. And when he did that, he accidentally cut it in two places.
My point being that it wasn't nefarious. I got the impression that it was never nefarious on the part of Life.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, look, we have a lot of other films to
Yeah.
look at, so we're going to have to leave the Zapruder film alone for a couple of minutes and go into these other films, which I wanted to discuss with you after we took a look at each one. We're going to start out with the Orville Nix film, and we could just comment on it after we take a look at it. What is the running time on Orville Nix?
I don't know what the film is. I mean, this is a 2-minute segment, so I mean, we'll stop it whenever.
Okay, well, let's go to the Orville Nix first of all. Let's do that one.
Just so people know what we've done. I've upscaled this using AI to try to enhance it for here. If it doesn't look as good, I'm going to go back to the original, but this is for the purposes of clarity. Keep in mind, AI can add little artifacts or things like that, so I'm not going to represent any of these as a perfect copy, if you will.
Here's the story with the Nix film. The Nix film was taken from the far side of Main Street, a full block away from where the president was. The film was taken by Orville Nix Jr., and he took it and didn't even know that the camera was running. He didn't remember that he actually had his hand on the shutter release, and it shows the actual assassination, the whole thing from before the headshot until after, and it shows that whole section. And
This is the
one of the
only
most
Here we go. Let's take a look at this really quickly here, and we can discuss it.
The president here is on Houston Street.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are on Elm Street. Now, one thing that's so important about this is that one of the ridiculous things that people who are attacking the film says, all these films are fake because it doesn't show the car stopping. Well, there's a reason for that. It didn't stop.
Okay. Well, I look at these people as Holocaust deniers in terms of the Kennedy assassination, the moral equivalent of Holocaust deniers.
Well put. But notice the car does not stop.
Right. That's right. There it is, my friends.
But it does speed up, so you could see it slowed down.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
And then they sped up as he was grabbing onto the trunk.
My favorite is earlier in the same video, the video before, you talk about you dismissed the Greer shooting him as the driver, which was I always thought was kind of humorous, but you addressed that in the previous video.
Well, the thing is this: every time we come up dealing with this thing, we find that the other side comes up with one or two more ridiculous theories.
Yeah.
One guy is saying that you can tell that all the films are fake because it only shows Clint Hill jumping on the back of the car. And he says, but there were two people who jumped up there. No, there weren't.
I know.
We have all of these films.
Again, the only group that is served by the destruction of the veracity of the Zapruder film are the people who killed JFK. Keep that in mind. If you want to get in bed with them, knock yourself out, but that's who you're in bed with. And remember that when you start to attack the Zapruder film. You may believe everything you say. You may be a kind of useful idiot or dupe, as Stalin would call them, but you are serving a bigger master. If you begin to go down that road, you have to keep that in the back of your mind. Here's the Mary Muchmore film. Why don't we talk about that for a couple of seconds, Bob?
Okay, Marie Muchmore was standing on the halfway between Houston and halfway between Main and Elm on Houston Street. And she was a bit closer than Nix, but she was actually behind the car and slightly to the left. This film, as with the Nix film and the Zapruder film and this, I made these copies from the original films, the actual camera originals. And I'll explain that. With this one, it's kind of special because the Nix film, the Muchmore film, was actually damaged much the same way that the Zapruder film was. There's a splice at the exact moment of the fatal headshot in the film, which you will see.
Right there.
Yeah, you could see that.
Now there's the head explosion. You can't, doesn't really It doesn't really show it in any detail, but you can see that it happens. So it was showing that. Notice the car does not stop in this one either.
Right. Well, Eric is stopping the video, but other than
No,
that,
no, that's the video.
That's
It's
the way I
stopping
did it.
the presentation.
Yeah.
Because it ends just after that. Where you see it stopping here is the last frame of the film. But up until that point, it does not stop. It never did stop.
Did the brake lights come on, Robert?
Yes.
Did he downshift into a lower gear, Robert?
We don't know that he did that, but we do know that he did slow it down. The car was slowing down. When the car turned onto Elm Street at the top of the street, right in front of the depository building, which is in the background here as we view it, it was doing 11 miles per hour. At the time of the moment of the fatal headshot, it had slowed down to 5.2 miles.
Wow. Wow. And what's the recommended lowest speed that the Secret Service recommends for urban driving with the president?
35 miles per hour.
35. Wow.
Right.
Wow. So they were only off by about 90%.
Yeah, they're up by 30 miles per hour.
By 30 miles per hour, they're off by. But other than that, there was a safe driving experience.
Right. Well, the point of the matter is that all the films show that the car did not stop. The people who are attacking the film, and you know who they are as well as I do.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to mention his name.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're claiming that the Zapruder film shows that the car should have stopped and didn't. But they don't even mention Zapruder, Nix much more. They mention Zapruder. They don't do Nix much more or Bronson, which all show that the car didn't stop.
Well, we're going to get to Bronson. Let's take a look at Mark Bell's film.
Okay.
First of all, tell us a little bit about Mark Bell and his film here, and that status.
Okay, Mark Bell was standing by by Houston and Maine, and he films it. Unfortunately, he was holding the camera very high. It was aimed high, and so he almost lost the president at the bottom. The film is extremely contrasty. But what I did, I lightened it up a little bit so that you could see it better. And I had to I had it go down to the bottom of the frame, which is the black you see at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Which otherwise you wouldn't be able to see the president at all. There they are.
There we go. There we are. That's a good shot. Yeah, very good.
Okay. So he follows him along Houston Street, and then picks it up again, and this time he's holding it correctly on here we are on Elm Street. Again, the car does not stop. It goes all the way underneath the underpass. And
Wow. So Parkland's about 5 minutes away from that at that speed, I presume. 5 to 10. Yeah, roughly speaking. How did all these people converge on Parkland? Just to digress for a second, because last week we had Vince Palomar on again, and we were talking about his new book, and there was so many CIA and FBI people within seconds at Parkland, Robert.
It's hard to say,
Yeah.
There are telephones.
Okay, but there are telephones, but they are hard to find, as we found by the people who were trying to get in to the Texas School Book Depository to use the phone in there. But okay, let's look at Robert Hughes for a second. This seems a little bit more promising, a little lighter in terms of contrast. Where is Hughes standing?
Hughes is standing on the corner of Main,
the old red courthouse at the corner,
right across from the old courthouse there. Now you see the NFV at the bottom there on the left.
Yeah.
That's New Frontier Video, my company. I made all of these films from the originals.
Let me just interject. If and when you buy the DVD that we're going to show you at the end of the show, Robert is narrating all of these films that he has enhanced and played. Am I correct? This is your this is your voiceover, which we're
I'm muting it because
He's muting
sitting
it
here.
so we could talk over it itself. But
Yeah.
if and when you buy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to show this now because
Yeah.
this is important. You see the president's car near the bottom of the
Yeah.
frame in the middle. At the very, very top, at the center of the film, that window that's partially opened at the bottom is the so-called Oswald window.
Right.
That's supposed to be the sniper's. No, one above that one.
This one?
There you are. There you are. There is somebody in that window.
Okay.
But there's somebody in the next window as well, and the one after that.
Is it Bonnie Ray Williams, Robert?
Bonnie Ray Williams is the first one that you had by the open window.
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie Ray Williams, Hank Norman, and James Jarman. The three guys are in those three windows.
If you believe that Ray Williams went downstairs earlier than the Warren Commission, or as early as the Warren Commission sends him downstairs. Remember, they were trying to back him up in his testimony as far back as they could get him out of that window, right, Robert?
Well, the thing is this. He was there. He's photographed there. I've got pictures of him in the window from the outside.
All right.
But yeah, they try to screw everything up. But these three guys testify that they heard the shots. Bonnie Ray Williams said he heard the bullet shells hitting the floor. But he didn't hear anybody running away from that corner window.
Right.
You would have heard the footsteps easily more than the bullet shells hitting the floor. If
dust could come through the slats, I presume it was
right.
Right, Robert?
I mean, very old floor.
Very old floor. But let me just ask something about the sniper's nest. I mean, it's quite clear to me that the assembly of the boxes was Bonnie Ray Williams putting together a little table for him to eat his chicken leg sandwich and to have his soda and his menthol cigarettes.
His sniper nest?
His sniper nest. And it seems to me, based on photographs that were taken by Dallas police, that they were attempting to create variations on that theme. I've seen multiple photos of different snipers' nests, Robert.
Well, the thing too is the fact that especially the press, the Dallas press, wanted to point out how heartless the shooter was because he stopped to eat fried chicken, before he shot the president.
Well, in fact, Walter Cronkite that night famously said the sniper ate lunch while waiting for the president to arrive. So it got all the way to CBS Evening News, that storyline.
Yeah. But then found out that it was actually Bonnie Ray Williams who had been eating it.
Right.
Then they sort of stopped talking about it, but they kept that going for quite some time.
Yeah.
Can I go and play it through then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Again,
rewinded it back.
He gets the car going from making the turn onto Houston Street, starting right around here. There's the president's car.
That's a nice one. Yeah. Nice shot.
This is good footage.
Yeah, this is very good. Very good.
He follows it all the way to the corner of Elm Street and gets it into the turn onto Elm Street right there. But the guy's still in the window up there. There's several people up there, not just one. That kind of kills the idea of the lone assassin right there.
Right.
And there's the grassy knoll in the background, and all these hundreds of people are running toward the grassy knoll, chasing the assassin. They knew where the shots came from. They saw the smoke. They heard the shots. Except these two people here just.
Those two. Yeah.
Now, this is in the railroad yard on top of the grassy knoll. And here's a pan of Dealey Plaza.
That's a nice pan. Wow.
This guy's one of the best.
This guy's the best one in the group.
Well, see, the thing is that none of these things were ever presented to the public. I'm the one who released them all.
Right.
There's a fella in the. Can you stop for a second?
Sure.
Oh. But on the right, extreme right side of the. Can you go back a couple of frames?
Yeah, sure. Where do you want me?
Oh. No. Now go back. I'm sorry.
Right
there we go. There he is. The fellow on the right, he's wearing a slight red color, dark red shirt, and he's a bald fellow right next to the right edge of the doorway to the depository. His name is Billy Lovelady.
Ah,
Billy
heard that.
Lovelady. He looks a lot like Lee Harvey Oswald. And we're
right here, this guy right there.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think it-
He'll later move, or is this, he's already transitioned down the steps, Robert? Because there's photos of him on the upper left where the guy in the hat was, the guy on the extreme left.
Exactly.
He's actually walked down the stairs now, Lovelady.
Yeah, but he's also on the other side of the doorway as well.
Right, exactly. Right. Okay.
The very first person who was interviewed by the House Assassinations Committee, the very first witness, was Billy Lovelady.
Yep.
And I was one of the two people doing the interview with him
Wow.
in Denver, where he was living at the time. And he identified that as being himself. His wife identified that as being himself. We have people there that are arguing like crazy that it's actually Oswald.
Oh, that's
And
crazy.
it's not,
That's
because
crazy.
Oswald was
crazy.
on the second floor when this picture was taken. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
well. Let's go on to the end of this, and
Yeah.
because you get to see a whole
But
bunch of
well lit, beautifully framed.
Yeah,
The
this is
shadows are
good.
nice. I mean,
yes,
he's holding the camera steady. There is the Dow Tex building, second floor, where a shot may have been fired into the back of the president, Robert.
okay. Now here I did a blow up. I zoomed in on the president.
This upscale's not doing too bad either than I did.
There you go.
Okay,
There's the window.
That's pretty
windows.
clear. That's pretty clear.
Yeah, and you can see movement in the window.
Yeah.
When that picture was taken, Oswald was on the second floor.
In the lunchroom.
Right, and here we are. This is still the Hughes film.
Well, Hughes is my favorite so far.
Okay. Well, we have a couple of others we can look at.
Remember
Here's
I-
Robert. That's your hand, Robert, I presume.
Yeah, there's three people. One here you see the two windows next to the one Oswald's supposed to be in, and there are people moving in both of those windows. There were three people up there. That's the so-called Oswald window. You can see the movement in the window.
Yeah. You can
Now,
see
if
that.
Oswald was in that window, you wouldn't be able to see him because he'd be behind the brick wall on the right, firing down at the.
Well, we also wouldn't have witnesses of him in the second floor lunchroom.
Right. Exactly.
Here's Tina Towner, not to be confused with Tina Turner, who was not in Dallas at the time. But Tina Towner's film. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about this.
Okay. She was standing at the corner of Elm and Houston with her father, Jim, and she took this film as the president went right around in front of the depository. This film was unfortunately very, very brittle, and the white stuff that you see going through the picture is actually the emulsion peeling off of the film. Here it is slowed down. Jackie's looking right at the camera.
That's nice. Yeah, that's a good one. You can't say that Dallas doesn't love you, Mr. President. Looks like it's about there.
Yeah. Anyway, the thing is that all of these films are important. They show different things as part of the overall event.
Oh yeah,
And
it's like a pastiche.
government released none of them.
Yeah.
This documentary that you're watching now, I released these films for the first time. And
Is this 1995, Robert?
when I released these?
Yeah.
Um,
Do you remember when this came
Right.
out? Or
Well, there's a VHS, so it might have been before that, Mark.
it started.
This
Okay.
is the DVD.
I released them on VHS first, and then I did the DVD series. Actually, there's actually a series of three.
here's a picture of the one I have. I know you've updated it since then and repackaged it.
Yeah,
But if you will put links in the description after the show, people could pick it up
sure.
because it's all on here. And okay, so we've looked at, let's see here.
We got Elsie Dorman to go.
We got yeah, let's do the Dorman. Let's see what Dorman's got here. This is Elsie Dorman. Can you tell us a little bit about the Dorman film?
This
Robert?
one here is unique because this was taken from the depository as the president.
Oh,
yeah.
Can you stop it for a second?
Yep.
yeah, sure.
Get back onto the car. There you go. If there was one person shooting, this is where the shot would be taken as the car approached.
Mm.
Target is getting larger. There's no real glare from the sun. It's coming toward you. There's no possibility of escape. The only thing to stop you from doing this is if you're waiting for crossfire or somebody else shooting from the grassy knoll.
Now, who was Elsie Dorman, Bob?
She worked in the book depository.
She was a secretary in the building.
Yeah. And
right.
Okay, we can continue a little further.
Oh, just turn it up so we can play it through.
Here we go.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect gunman shot with this camera.
Exactly. I haven't seen that for 40 years or more. There's Tina Turner on the middle there.
There's the girl in the little red dress, I think, over there.
That should be there somewhere, but
yeah.
Anyway,
now what floor is this being shot from here?
Fourth floor.
Fourth floor, right? Okay, this is the fourth, and she's on
below where Oswald was supposed to be.
Right, and she's on a lunch break herself.
Yeah,
and Oswald would have to have run past her at some point after she shoots this, Robert.
Well, he would have passed her on that floor. She didn't leave the fourth floor right immediately.
Right.
One thing though about Elsie Dorman, she was very dizzy. She had a lot of trouble trying to keep things straight in her eyes and her brain.
Mm-hmm.
She held the camera up to the window and didn't look through the rangefinder.
Okay.
She shot all this. It's amazing she got anything.
Yeah. Wow. Still pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Amazing.
Okay. Let's see what else we have.
What John Martin has to say.
Oh, John Martin. Okay. What is John Martin about, Robert?
This film here was very, very, very underexposed. It's like deep shadow, as you can see here. I blew this. When I shot this, I lightened it up by about 8 photographic stops, stops into this, and brought it so that you can at least see what's going on. There's the depository doorway, and this is afterward. This is going toward the grassy knoll.
Oh, this I wanted to talk to you about. Hold on, just go back for a second to the guy's name. Robert can explain who this guy is. Ernest Charles Mentesana. Who is Ernest Charles Mentesana?
Frankly, I don't know what his background is.
Right, because I don't either. Yeah.
Yeah. He was there in the plaza, and what he got was unique. He got something nobody else got.
Right.
He took this part here from the Elm Street, and they went around the corner to Houston, which he's going to be doing in a second. Right now, this is the corner looking inboard into the plaza. And the next thing he does is right here.
Mm.
They're passing down a rifle from the roof of the depository, and now here they're examining it.
Now, this is, in my mind, the .302 British Enfield that they found on the roof, Robert, if I am correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not to be confused with your friend Buell Wesley Frazier's .302 British Enfield that they seized from his house.
Right. They did that a couple of days later.
Okay. Just so we're clear on our British Enfields.
So this is very important because it's the only thing we've got of the other rifle.
Yes.
It's clearly not a Carcano.
Show that again. I just want to show this a couple of times because this is uber important. This is the fire escape where they brought it down from, Robert.
Yes.
And then they circle around. These are Dallas detectives looking at the rifle, examining it. People have tried to disparage this, saying this was their own shotgun sticking up in the air and they're having a conversation about the Dallas Cowboys or some other Bubameises. But we know what this film really means. It means that the Carcano is not the only rifle found. And we know about the German Mauser and that whole chestnut. But this is, again, a third rifle now. This one actually being filmed in this footage, which is worth the price of admission to me, of the 302 British Enfield that is brought down, and we presume that's what it is. I've had experts tell me it was a 302 British Enfield. Other people have said it's some other type of rifle. But the point of the matter is, this is a second rifle, and I think that's important.
Exactly. You and I have discussed this rifle before.
We have. I thought so.
Yeah,
I thought so. It's very, very important to the factual basis of the JFK assassination in terms of film. This is, to me, one of the most important films that Robert has on it in his collection, for me.
Yeah, it's something that Mark has been talking about for since I've known him, talking about the series, and then he realized that it was your film.
Yeah,
he's like, I know there's something out there. I've seen a film out there of it, and he
I just
remember
forgot where I had seen it originally, and then of course it's from Robert's collection.
Well, this particular next one coming up is Jack Daniels' film. This is the only one that's taken from the far side of the underpass as the car goes by.
Wow.
We're looking back into the plaza.
Yeah.
It's a unique angle.
I think they're passing the lead white car there with the Dallas police in it, right, at that scene. Right? Thank you. I just realized that. Yeah, they're speeding past the white lead car.
Yeah, they actually bypassed it in the underpass.
In the underpass. That's why nobody didn't see that underneath, how it got ahead of it. There it is on the right, the white car, and they're speeding past it as Greer floors it. Flags are blazing there, Jackie, and then Clint Hill. I assume Clint Hill's still hanging off the back, right, Robert?
Yeah, he's on the back.
Now, you show quite clearly, and you narrate quite clearly in the previous footage of Jackie supporting herself on her left arm while reaching out for the skull-brain combo of her husband and dragging that back into the car without the help of Clint Hill shoving her back into the seat, Robert.
Which, by the way, he never did. He never touched.
Which he never did. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
You show that quite clearly, that she takes the initiative on her own to literally launch herself onto the trunk of that limousine and grab that section of her husband's head and drag it back into the seat. He simultaneously follows her into the back of the car, but he is not shoving her back, has been common folklore.
Exactly. You know, we've been talking about the films here. In my latest book, JFK Absolute Proof, I have 1,000 photographs, including extreme blow-ups of a lot of these films, film frames. It is the most photographed crime in history, yet the government released none of the pictures. And this one here, I released 1,000. And
this is the best book of Robert's collection. There is the Search for Lee Harvey Oswald, which is great, and there's also The Killing of a President. But this is the most recent one. This is an incredible coffee table gift for anybody who wants to give something great to a relative or for themselves. This is a heavy-duty book with thousands of images and photos in here. I can barely lift it up. And there'll be some links in the description on how to get that book. It is well worth the price of admission to get that book. The DVDs you could buy through Robert, and I assume the book as well, Robert. Is that that's how we're going to fulfill it this time? And
well, that's again, it's the most photographed crime in history. The still photographs are one thing, but the films are something else again.
Yeah,
these should have been made available by the government back in 1963 and 64. And they released none of them. None of them.
Well, the Orville Nix one has a interesting chain of custody, Robert, right?
Oh, we can do that right now if you want to.
Go ahead. Let's get into the Nix custody one. Oh, wait a second. Let's finish the films first of all.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about Nix.
Let's finish the films. I just want to get to
this. Is Bronson, Charles Bronson.
Well, let's go to the Bronson one.
Yeah, this is not the Charles Bronson. It is Charles.
But that was not Jack Daniels either, Robert.
No, that's true. No alcohol content.
Right.
Okay, he was standing up on top of a pedestal, such as Zapruder was, diagonally
Yeah.
across the plaza. I got to explain this thing here. Can we stop for a second?
Sure.
This section here is very important, and it doesn't even show the president. There is well, how can I explain this? The white building on the extreme right, you see part of it. If you go down to the street right below it, there's a little red, you can't make it out here, but that's an ambulance. There was a man who had a rather strange.
Right.
Yeah, he had
A phony epileptic seizure, right, Robert?
exactly, and he was put here at this time here. This is
Somewhere in this area.
yeah, right there, exactly. And they took him to Parkland Hospital and got him out of the car, out of the ambulance, and he just disappeared.
He
He never
disappeared.
entered the hospital. But the thing is that the what you've got here in the upper right-hand edge of the other red building in the background there, right just above the, or just, I'm sorry, just next to the top of that pedestal there, that's the so-called Oswald window. Now, here's the story with this film. It was discovered and sent to the FBI pretty soon after the assassination. They returned it saying there was nothing here of any importance. You can see movement in 3 of the windows at the same time. We'll get to that in a second here.
I think Robert is talking about that. Yeah, back up in there. Yeah,
precisely.
Okay.
Okay, can you go back again? Start. This is minutes before the assassination.
Oh, this is
here.
cool.
Here I'm doing blow-ups of that window.
Yeah,
get close to it. There is movement in those windows, all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep getting closer and closer to this.
Let me ask you something. The shots that hit Connolly seem to have come from a rather steep angle from the back through the wrist into the left thigh, Robert. It seems that would be further down the building angle-wise than that back up
I'll
in
get
there.
that in a second. This is the part here that show.
Oh yeah, let's take a look.
Okay. There's movement in that window, and then the next one, the one here on the right, is the so-called Oswald window. There's movement in both of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What was the question you were just asking me?
No, I was talking about the Connolly wounds just going straight down. The angle of the Connolly wounds have always indicated to me, and this goes 25 years back for me, that
the president's car on Elm Street, passing in front of the grassy knoll.
Okay, well, I'll pause. You want to talk about the wound?
Yeah, I just thought that it would have come from a window either further down from the Oswald window, because of the steep angle of Connolly's wound, Robert.
In the book, in JFK Absolute Proof, I actually published pictures of the windows on the 6th floor, including the one at the western end, which is the one that hit Connolly.
Yes.
By its downward angle.
Yes.
And as I said, it's the most photographed crime in history. And these are pictures that no one can see anywhere else.
Yeah, I never saw it until I saw your book. I had just imagined it in my mind's eye that the angle of Connolly. I remember taking a ruler years ago and just putting it straight up from his wounds to that window. You demonstrate that in your book, showing the actual window. But you don't have to be a rocket scientist to look at the wounds separately of John Connolly, through the upper back, coming out the lower chest, into the wrist, into the thigh. The angle is almost straight down. Cannot come from that far window where Oswald was.
Well, there's a couple of other things that I've got that I'm dealing with too. there is a bullet that hit the sidewalk from that window, not the one that hit Connolly, but one from that of the window. I also found a small segment of film with the FBI and the Secret Service in that window that afternoon. They knew it. They were there,
Yeah.
and they were already dealing with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Is that in the next 2 days part of this, Bob? Because I
No,
did pull that too.
I don't think that's in the next 2 days.
No, that's
No.
Okay.
it's in the magazine that I sell in Dealey Plaza, but there's a whole section of it here in Absolute Proof. This is a blow up of the president as the bullet hit his head, but so far away you can hardly see it at all. But you can see it if you study it. There he goes backwards. One thing that I've got that next time we do a show, I will get it to you in plenty of time for it.
Okay.
I have films from 2 of the TV stations in Dallas.
I like that.
Later that afternoon, about 4 o'clock, there was a press conference. Dr. Robert Shaw, the one who worked on Governor Connolly, is talking to the press. He's addressing the press and answering their questions. One of the reporters asks him, said, "What about the bullet in Governor Connolly's leg?" And Dr. Shaw says, "The bullet is still in his leg. It is not life-threatening. When he stabilizes, the bullet will be removed." When he says this, CE 399, the so-called magic bullet that is supposed to be the one that's in his leg, is already in the air on Air Force One going back to Washington.
Ooh, that's difficult. That's difficult.
This is something I found years and years ago. As far as I know, it's never been broadcast on TV. And I've got it on 2 different stations.
Oh, let's look at that the next trip you make it.
Please
Make it back, and maybe Paul Landis could have explained that in some afterlife. Okay, let's roll this.
Approaching the Texas School Book
Okay, this is
Department
the
20
Wigman
moments
film.
after-
This is from NBC News. Wigman is in one of the press cars. Here he's jumping out of the press car, and now he's running. That's why it's such a blur. He's running all over the place, and he's filming at the same time till he stops running right around here. And he's got people on the knoll. And this is Bill and Gail Newman and their 2 kids.
Yeah. Played by what's his face from Full Metal Jacket, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Here's a slow up. Now the doorway is just going off the screen to the right, but we come back to it, and Billy Lovelady is in that doorway. Right there. Now it's just going.
Hold on.
No idea that the assassin.
I'll try to get to it. It's gonna.
As you pointed out before, I did narrate this entire thing.
Right. That's what I'm saying. When people purchase the DVD, they will get Bob's on-point narration to watch the films with. We're just kind of winging it here for discussion.
Somewhere in here, right?
Lovelady is, and right here he's on the right.
Yeah.
In the Alton's photograph, it appears like he's against the left edge. That's because of the angle. He's actually standing in the middle of all this.
Right. You can see him. That's him right there, Eric. You got it.
Exactly.
That's Billy Lovelady. Yeah. Who they claimed was Oswald. For how many years, Robert, did that myth persist?
They're still doing it.
Right. We kind of addressed the 3 tramps the other day and how that myth was still, alive and well.
Yeah. The point of the matter is that the films can answer a lot of questions.
Right.
That's why they're being attacked by people who are really helping the Warren Commission lie by defending something that needs to be defended. That's what I'm trying to do.
Like I said, there are useful idiots, and then there are masterminds above them. So depends on what side you're on of those 2 sides. I don't know, they may be on the same side, but the reality of it is any undermining of these films helps the deep state and the killers of the president perpetuate these false narratives.
one of the people who are attacking the Zapruder film is a real Looney Tune.
Mhm.
He says you can tell that the film is fake because there's only one person jumping on the back of the car, and that it's been retouched to hide out the fact that there were two Secret Service agents that jumped up there.
Well, I mean, for how many years did the Mortal Era book claiming that the Secret Service agent stood up with an AK-47
Yeah.
and shot Kennedy in the back of the head from the Secret Service car? I mean,
Well,
that had to be dispelled. That took years.
Well, the thing is, you bring that up is very important. We just saw the Bronson film.
Yeah,
The Bronson film
dispels
shows
that.
that nobody stood up and there is no gun.
Yeah.
Before that book came out, the two authors, Bono Menninger and Howard Donahue, came to my house to
Oh,
show
my
me
God.
what they had found.
Oh
And
my
I took
God!
out the Bronson film and showed it to them and showed them that there was no gun.
What'd
Nobody
they say?
they were speechless, basically. But when they hadn't published the book anyway,
I was going to say,
Right.
but they still got the book out.
They still got the book deal, Robert.
they had already gotten the advance money on it. They weren't
Yeah.
getting it back.
Yeah.
So they did it, and they knew that the Secret Service agent they were talking about was dying. He had cancer. They figured he wouldn't last long enough.
There's a lot of that going around. Like when someone passes away, people seem to move into that vacuum of their truth,
Yeah.
and begin to undermine their narrative. Let's take a look at Malcolm Couch, by the way, and see who is Malcolm Couch, Robert?
He was a cinematographer for one of the TV stations.
Okay, so he's a real filmmaker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but see on the right there, that was the cop running into the building 72 seconds after the shooting.
Oh, there he goes. Yeah, that's what this is famous for.
Yeah.
He will then confront Oswald in the second floor cafeteria.
Right. Actually, he sees Oswald 72 seconds after the shooting.
Right.
Oswald could not possibly have gotten down from the sixth floor.
It's insane. It's totally insane.
There's that guy right there that you were talking about was running.
Yeah, the NBC guy.
With the camera, right?
You also got Billy Hargis there, the Bobby Hargis, rather.
Bobby Hargis.
The
brain splattered police motorcycle cop.
Right, but he gets up and he's about to run up to the grassy knoll.
Does he take his motorcycle up as far as he can?
He parks it on the right there.
Oh, right. Yeah, there. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so what do we have? Malcolm Crouch or
that's Malcolm Couch, and then Tom Elia.
Okay, so this is different, Robert. You could set this up. This is Tom Elia. He's inside the building with this camera here.
Exactly.
Who is this guy? This is a guy from
the Dallas Morning News.
Dallas Morning News, and this is footage now inside the building, Robert.
I think it's about Dallas Morning News. He may have been from the TV station a few blocks from the plaza.
Is this the Dallas detective yelling out the window? I forget his name. Talking to some of his men down below.
No, he was at the Oswald end. This is the opposite end. This is where the shot came from that you were talking about before.
Yes.
About the one that hit Connolly.
Yes.
It's from this window.
Right.
They were looking at it right away. They knew
right away that window that was a perch.
Exactly. And I have
How many feet is it, in your humble opinion, from the Oswald window to that window? It's a whole width of the building almost.
It is, exactly.
Yeah, it's exactly the width of the building. Yeah.
Exactly. And here they're searching for the rifle on the 6th floor.
Or a reenactment.
Allier got into the building right away and nobody kicked him out. They kept him there. But the thing is, he shot.
Aaliyah, you're talking about.
Allier, I guess.
Allier? I forget how you pronounce his name, but
they are photographing finding of the rifle. We don't know which one this is, whether this is the Carcano or the
Mauser. Yeah.
Because we have several policemen talking about both of them. Put your fingerprints on the rifle, guys. By the way, Oswald's fingerprints were not on the rifle.
As we
It
know.
was tested
Yeah.
3 times before they found any palm print. That's after the authorities brought the rifle to the funeral home.
To get the palm print off of his dead body.
No, what the last thing here, which you're not going to deal with because it takes too long for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a group called the Dallas Cinema Associates. They hunted down a whole bunch of 8mm film taken along the entire motorcade route, starting at the airport. I put this in there because it's a piece of the history of it all, but there's no actual footage of the actual.
Right. Yeah, I didn't care about getting into that. That's really the end of the footage that we wanted to see for today. And this is all available to you, the American consumer, if you can somehow find a link down below and purchase these. There's a couple of reissues by Robert, but I assume the films are on each of them.
The film that the packaging that Eric had there a second ago is the actual legitimate one.
Okay.
We're getting you a copy of this from this too.
Oh, thank you.
So absolutely. The Nix film, there's a story about this.
Yeah, let's get into the Nix film for a second. And then,
the copies that we have, the clear ones like this was made directly from the original. When the film Executive Action was being made,
you were a consultant on Executive Action with Burt Lancaster, Will Greer, I believe. Mark Lane wrote the screenplay. Mark Lane was a screenwriter on that.
Right. And we got Robert Ryan was in it too.
Robert Ryan, fantastic actor.
Okay. I suggested to them that they try to get the Nixon Much More films for the movie. They thought it was a great idea, and they went to UPITN, United Press International Television News, that owned the film until their copyright on the loan situation ran out. We got the films. We blew them up the same way we did on the Zapruder film, from the original 8 directly to 35. And as with Zapruder, an extra copy was made they didn't know about with each one. I released it. I showed it when the House Assassinations Committee was doing their work on the films and like that. They wanted the Nixon Much More films. And UPITN said, well, we'll let you do it under subpoena, but don't let Robert Groden anywhere near him. They were so angry that I had released both of their films. They didn't want to do it. Well, I wanted to desperately, because when I shot the films, I shot them to get good color balance and good density and everything on the car and the occupants of the car. What I didn't do, and I wish like heck I had, is I wanted to do it again and lighten the heck out of it so we can get the stuff on the grassy knoll that's in deep shadow. They never would let me do it. I tried forever to do it. They wouldn't let me. Anyway, when the films were returned to UPITN from the House Committee, for safety's sake, they had one of their chief people there take both films, Nix and Much More, and put them into a bank vault. Well, he did, but didn't tell anybody where it was, and then he died of a heart attack.
Oh, you're talking about Orville Nix?
Yeah, no, then Nix is the fellow who from UPI that had the film.
Okay,
right.
He
put them away, and nobody knew where.
And he was dead.
He died.
Right.
Ouch. Never been seen since.
Okay, so we were approached by someone at Lancer last year who claims, and I don't want to get into naming names, I won't do that, but he claims that vault has been found and that he's representing descendants of Nix regarding that footage.
There's a suit going on to
get a lawsuit, Robert, that he's going to update us on. So that's what I was told.
Well, the point of the matter is, one of the descendants from Orville Nix has been claiming for years that I have the original film.
Right.
Oh,
didn't have it. They wouldn't let me touch it. So I'm cleared with that. Plus,
Okay.
the fact when the film was returned, it was signed for.
Right.
So
Well, at least you're not guilty of absconding with the
accused
evidence.
of many things. That's just
But not that. But not that.
so just to clarify though, because you're answering something for me, Bob. This is 100% of the Nix film, though. There's no other part of it that was missing or whatever from the original. What we just saw.
Yes and no. There's nothing missing from the assassination. What is missing is home movie footage of a football game. And this sounds very, very strange, but Orville Nix took the film with the assassination footage on it and the camera to a football game the following Sunday.
Oh, right. And just kept filming.
Hey, film's expensive, guys.
Yeah. Not ready to have it developed.
I can totally see that. It's a different generation. We're talking about a Depression era child.
Well, the second, perhaps Nix may be the second most valuable of all the films. There's two actually that are potentially more valuable. One would be the one, what, hon?
Beverly?
Yeah, the one taken by Beverly Oliver.
Oh, the Oliver footage.
She
Yeah.
was across the street from Zapruder.
Well, that was
She was
seized
closer
by
to-
somebody.
She's closer to the president than Zapruder was.
Yeah.
And when she was filming, she saw the grassy knoll through the viewfinder of the camera. That considerably could historically be worth more than even Zapruder. Another possibility is one that Janet has been working on now for a couple of years. We have a friend whose father claimed that he was in the plaza filming it, and he was doing it for the CIA. That they wanted
A popular organization.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well, wasn't Powell photographing for military intelligence? I mean, Captain Powell was there for the 112th military intelligence. I think that's been fairly well established.
yeah, James Powell was taking still photographs, 35
Right.
slides.
Right. Yeah.
This would have been 16 millimeter film.
Right.
So who has the Beverly Oliver film?
The FBI.
The FBI.
So wouldn't that be
they
part of
seized
the
it.
document?
2 days later and told her that they would return it. They never did.
Yeah.
All we've got to show that did happen is we have a receipt, or at least an explanation, not a receipt. The FBI wrote I have the receipt here somewhere, that the film taken by Beverly Oliver was not retained by this organization. So it admits that they had it,
Yeah.
but they don't know where it is now.
Well,
So this
it
is the
exists.
JFK file. This is
It-
part of the JFK files, I would think.
It exists, and the JFK files might have more information if we ever get down to the bottom of that thing.
Was another film taken by Gordon Arnold. He was on the grassy knoll.
Explain who Gordon Arnold was or is to the people at home, Robert.
Gordon was a soldier. He was in the army, and he had borrowed his mother's camera, shooting 8mm, toward the president like that. And as the fatal headshot went off, right by his ear, he dove for the ground. Senator Ralph Yarborough from one of the follow-up cars saw this all happen. Seconds after he shot the footage, a man came from around the stockade fence and demanded the film and the camera. But Gordon said he would not give him the camera because it was his mother's camera, but he gave him the film right from the camera.
He showed some sort of ID to Arnold, didn't he?
Well, that's not even clear. He said he was.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah.
But
Arnold was on leave, or he's just gotten out of the
He
military,
was,
or
being sent to Alaska.
he was sent to Alaska. That's right. Weird.
So anyway, that film may exist somewhere. The way Gordon described it, The film was taken out of the camera, exposed to sunlight, which means it would be useless. And that's that. It may not even exist anymore. But in the different films and photographs that we see throughout the plaza, we do see other people that seem to be taking films or photographs. Yeah. We don't have everything. We know we don't have everything. The FBI went to every film processing lab in and around Dallas and demanded everything be turned over to them if they found anything with any images of the president's assassination. And we know that there were other people. I have friends who are into the case who swear to me that they know people that say they have films of the assassination.
Wow.
We hear this all the time. We don't know if it's true or not.
Wow.
The point is,
do you have all this documented anywhere, Bob? Just to, so we can keep track of what people should be looking for.
Yes and no. There's so many variations on things. It's difficult to say. But we've asked when Oliver Stone did JFK, we put in ads in the local Dallas newspapers. Do you have any films or photographs of the assassination? We'll buy them from you. Nobody ever came forward.
Well, in fact, if Zapruder did not ride roughshod over his footage, we may not have ever seen the Zapruder footage, right, Robert? I mean, he seemed like a dog of war, guarding his footage like a mother hen.
Well, yes, exactly. The FBI came to him and demanded they give him the film, and
bearing shotguns.
He said, "Go to hell." He said, "Go to hell," and he stayed with it all the way through its processing in Dallas, which is very, very important because a lot of the stuff at the beginning of all this is documented very, very well.
That's why I was referring to the chain of custody from the beginning. That is very well documented.
Right. But where it really got lost is after Zapruder sold it to Life magazine. Life sent it officially to Chicago to do what they were going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, the film got waylaid and taken to NPIC in Washington, D.C. And that was the first one. That's the camera original of his. But the second one, the second incident or occurrence is when they had a second film. By the way, as Janet points out to me all the time, nobody ever referred to it as the Zapruder film.
Mm-hmm.
It's referred to as the
amateur movie.
What?
The amateur film or the home movie?
The amateur film of the assassination, as if it was the only one, and it certainly wasn't.
Right,
any of these other people we see in the plaza or in other films could be that other film. There's one other film that may be of extreme importance too that Janet and a friend have been dealing with for quite some time trying to find. And I mentioned it before about the fellow who's working for the CIA and had been for years, who was ordered to be in the plaza, was moved by the CIA to Dallas weeks before the assassination and told to be there.
Wow. And
to film the event. And he, if that story ever proves out and gets developed, it could be that that's the film that was taken to one of the two events at NPIC.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know. We hypothesize it may be true. But every film that we have, that we know of, that exists, is on the, I don't know what to do with it. Here it is.
I think Eric's got it, or
on
there. Well, let's see if we have some super chats, Eric. Maybe they're building up a little bit after an hour and a half of this.
There's a handful here, but okay.
hold on. Go ahead.
Pamela Clifton says, "Happy Tuesday, guys, and happy to see Robert Groden again, a hero in the JFK assassination group of researchers." I agree very much. Then Grandpa is coming in, giving away 10 America's Untold Stories memberships here on YouTube. Thank you very much, Grandpa. Okay. You're going to get some wild questions in here too, Bob. So get ready. Any links between the CIA, JFK, and Epstein totality? I think that Epstein was a little later, guys. I don't think that they directly tie, but do you know of anything, Bob?
It depends which Epstein you're talking about.
Oh, good point. Good
Edward
point.
J. Epstein, or
Recent Epstein.
the recent Epstein.
Right.
He was
I don't think Jeffrey.
in jail in New York.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say probably no on Jeffrey Epstein and the new one, but
yeah. Anyway, yes, the CIA and JFK, absolutely, there are connections all over the place.
Oh, sure.
And Edward J. Epstein started out being a researcher and a critic of the Warren Commission.
Yep.
And his third book, he attacked the people.
Somebody flipped that Epstein too, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Al Gonzalez says, does Bob think Bonnie Ray Williams, Harold Norman were intimidated into changing their stories by Dallas police? And is Williams still alive?
I believe all three of the black guys who were on the fifth floor.
Givens being the third. I think Givens was a junkie.
Yeah, there was a problem with that because they used that against them.
Yep.
Those guys were on the fifth floor. They used to go up to the fifth floor every day and smoke marijuana.
Yeah.
They were grass addicts. Not addicts. You can't be an addict to it, but they would do it every day.
Well, let me just ask you something. Did Givens have a record of being a heroin addict with Dallas police? I thought he had a rap sheet.
I've heard stories of that. I don't know whether it's true or not.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
It very well could be true. The point of the matter is that Givens was suborned perjury.
Right.
I think. Oh shoot.
Did Givens walk out the building and split, and they brought him? They apprehended him, kind of.
Yeah, he left. He went up to the grill. There's a grill like a block and a half, 2 blocks away from the. What, honey?
The one at Record Street.
Yeah,
It's still there.
Yeah, I think that's where Givens went, and they brought him back, or somebody flipped him in that time period.
Anyway, it's very. I can't think of who it was. Somebody actually supported perjury from him, made him lie.
Yeah.
About a jacket or something like that. It's been a lot of years since I dealt with that at all. But I'll try to find.
I think it was Oswald's jacket in the windowsill. Of what?
Second floor,
right,
yeah.
Janet? Am I correct?
Yes. John Armstrong could work on that.
The other question, are any of them still alive? I'm assuming not.
No, the 3 of them are dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Harold Norman used to work in Dealey Plaza selling newspapers on the street about the assassination.
Well, there's footage of Bonnie Ray Williams getting into the back of a police car, I think.
Yeah.
There's pretty famous footage of that.
He and Danny Arcee and some of the others. Yes.
Right.
All right. Mr. Natural said, interview days before his death. This is the latest one, Mark. A CIA contract agent, underworld figure, Chauncey Marvin Holt, told his involvement with JFK assassination. He delivered the Secret Service IDs to Dealey Plaza, and he also said he was a tramp.
I don't know what to say. It's just a bunch of bullshit.
Well, I don't know. I never know what to make of all that.
I know. It's silly. It's just
there were 3 tramps arrested on a train that pulled out of the parking lot on the grassy knoll. And about 40 minutes later, the 3 of them were arrested and marched back through the plaza and held for 3 days by the Dallas police. We talk about this all the time because we have 3 tramps and we have 3 separate IDs of all 3 of them, all of which is supposed to be them. Yet it took over 30 years for the Dallas police to admit they were ever arrested in the first place. No fingerprints, no mugshots, only some names that are very questionable. And
Well, they
charged.
weren't officially arrested, from what I gather, Robert. I mean, I don't know if it was an official arrest or a detaining,
Or rousted.
rousted from the thing there.
Well, if they're being held for 3 days and then released, technically,
Yeah, no, I look. I mean, explain Buell Wesley's Frazier's double lie detector apprehension arrest. What is that?
once again, the confusion that happens because of all this. They tried to force Buell who's a friend of ours, tried to get him to admit he was one of the assassins, and he wasn't, and they knew he wasn't, but it looked good for them.
Well, that's a subject for another episode. Maybe Eric has a super chat or two we could get to.
All right, Steve Jaffe.
I'm sorry.
Very, very soon after the assassination, it was becoming extremely obvious to the authorities they had no case against Oswald, and had a very flimsy case against the lone assassin. So they were trying to get somebody else involved in it to make it more feasible. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then Pew Pew said, "Great show tonight. Shout out to Kwan Fate, who's actually Otto. He likes to use different names, stealth around." So that's it on the super chats.
Oh, very good.
Rumble rant. So typically we will head over to locals and hang out. I understand if you have other things to do. I don't know what your status is right now, Bob.
I'm here.
You're here. Okay. We deeply appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and head over to locals again, unstructured.locals.com. And every time we do a show, we have a little bit of an after party exclusive to folks on locals. And there's some tips in here with a few questions for Bob on locals as well. So we're going to head over there and check that out.
Let's just show the people the merchandise for Robert again that they could get for Christmas for their loved ones, Eric.
Well, you mean the DVD and
the DVD and the book, which I wanted to just point out before we leave the YouTube universe and head over to the locals universe. These two products are gifts that will keep on giving for years. For people at home who want to get this, we're going to put the links up in the description, and you'll be able to purchase them from Robert and his wife down in Texas.
I guess.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk about you while you're gone. The fulfillment may take a couple of weeks, so keep that in mind. So don't go berserk. Because I think that they're fulfilling these orders themselves. So it may take a while to get the actual product.
But got it handled now, Mark.
All right, okay, lady, pipe down. Okay, all right, we'll get to
Gotta mention, you guys did such a great job letting people know about these things. We actually
nobody knows about it. Go ahead, Robert.
Now you have the book printed again.
Oh, look at that. We sold them out, Hunley. It's a crying shame what's going on down there.
Now let me show you what I just went and got.
Go ahead.
Okay.
For anyone who gets the book, this is a ticket. I don't know if you can read it. Yeah. This is a ticket from the Texas Theater where Oswald was arrested that afternoon. Anyone who buys the book gets a coupon, gets the 1963 ticket from the theater as the book.
Wow. How do you like that, folks? That's great. That's great. Now, did he pull out his gun and try to shoot that Dallas policeman, Robert, and jam that gun?
I doubt it. It's difficult to say that he even had a gun. It could have been planted on him.
Right.
Yeah, they planted a second wallet. They know about that.
Yeah.
But one was found at the Tippit killing scene, which is the one that allegedly said Alec Hidell, the alias. And another one was in Oswald's pocket when he was arrested in the Texas Theater. Also, so that you'll know, many years ago, I was at the day that they opened up the Dallas Police Archive file. I found 2 documents in the police municipal archives that talk about a second arrest. The Oswald we know of was arrested on the 1st floor near the rear of the theater, and that's the one we saw taken out of the front of the theater, thrown into the police car. There was another one arrested in the balcony that was supposed to be Oswald, taken out into the alleyway behind the theater and driven away. We have paperwork for both arrests.
Interesting.
Verified by Dallas police officers.
Interesting.
The more you look into this thing, the deeper and deeper it gets. Oswald was supposed to be arrested in the Texas theater for sneaking in without paying. I interviewed Butch Burroughs, the manager of the theater, back in 1991, and he told me
this is Butch Burroughs, the theater manager back then. Yeah, go on.
He said that when he sold the popcorn to Oswald, he had a receipt. He had a stub of one of these.
Right.
These things are actually a piece of absolute history.
Well, just to interject, Butch Burroughs also claimed that Oswald was there for the previews before the film even started, which would put him there around 1:10, 1:15-ish, Robert, if that was the schedule of the later films. Cry for Battle, I think it was, with Van Heflin, and I forget the name of the second film, but he was there for the coming attractions, according to Butch Burroughs.
Which screws the Tippett story.
The thing is this: between the Tippett killing and the killing of the president, there are so many impossibilities. If you try to figure out the timing between the shots in Dealey Plaza and the killing of Officer Tippett, there is no way on the face of the earth Oswald could have gotten there quickly enough. Janet has done a lot of work.
I'll have to talk to Janet when we come down for dinner.
Absolutely.
Because I have a lot of questions for Janet, because I believe that you could get there quite fast from the apartment that Jack Ruby was living in. All of a sudden he's nodding his head.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, officially, according to the Warren Commission, Oswald was going from west to east, shot Tippett. According to the witnesses, and Janet's getting a lot of work on this, the shooter, and I won't say it's Oswald, don't believe it for a minute, was going going east to west, which means he would have had to go 3 blocks further around to get there, which takes it even longer. I got to tell you, I mentioned before that part of the things I was doing is Dick Gregory and I and Steve Jaffe were saying a lot of this stuff to the Rockefeller Commission. That was early on. That was 75. There was a young man named Craig Bouthart who was doing a I said his name wrong. Craig Bouthart, and he is doing a fabulous examination of the Zapruder Film situation, technically going into a great deal of technical stuff that I usually don't go into, because it's just it's too confusing after a while. But he's doing a great job of it, and I don't know the title of what his title is going to be for his book, but it's going to be a great one.
Wow. Yeah, I if you look at the Crawford fleeing and his testimony before the Warren Commission of not wanting to be accused of killing the president. I mean, even the Warren commissioners say to Crawford, "Who would accuse you of killing the president?" This is, of course, Ruby's sidekick, who occasionally lived with him and stayed with him at the aforementioned apartment that I just talked about. I believe that Crawford and Ruby were involved in the killing of Tippett. That's been my theory for, I don't know, 30 some odd years. I've always believed that. And I think that's why Crawford fled.
Janet,
right, Janet?
Completely.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I've never had another
prime candidate.
Yes, it's always been Crawford. You know, whatever the motivation is, I do not know. But Crawford fled for a reason. And he didn't flee because JFK was killed. He fled because of the killing of Tippit. And he was brought back by the FBI because of that. And I traced his jacket to a store in Hollywood. That the jacket that he had that they found belonged to Crawford, the one underneath the car, Janet. I traced it back to a store here in town where I am in Hollywood, California, where Crawford had lived prior to Dallas, Texas.
Fascinating. As Mr. Spock would say, fascinating.
Yeah, I focused on the Crawford thing a long time ago. I specialized in that, and I was working with a friend of mine out of Australia who was also interested in that area many years ago.
You know, the thing with Crawford or Crayford, depending on what you believe, it's very, very interesting. He has quite a history.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, we'll get together and we'll talk Crawford or Crayford when we get together for the next conference. Hopefully, Hunley won't have jury duty next year, but they may try to get Hunley every single year now. The deep state, they're on to him. And we'll have to deal with that. But I think we should all go over to locals. I have a lot of questions for you, Robert.
Well,
go ahead.
I almost missed this one. Because I called for jury duty.
You got to. I know they almost got me too. Yeah,
I'm 79 years old, so
just jump up. What I do is I jump up and I just go, "He did it! He did it! He did it!" And then they throw you out of the room.
Hey, Nate told me to wear a MAGA hat.
You could wear a MAGA hat. There's a lot of ways to skin that cat, and you could do a lot of things. But let's see if we can get over to locals to answer these people's questions, Robert.
Okay.
So just hang tight.
People, hang on. There's going to be some sort of test pattern here for a second.
It'll be an outro, and
you could go to the bathroom, play with your cats if you have cats, and then it'll take a couple of minutes.